It's 5 days to Comic-Con, and this year I told my wife we weren't going to waste time going after exclusives. Then we both entered the lottery to go after exclusives. After all, Comic-Con lotteries are like Christmas. You get to relive that feeling when you asked for G.I. Joe and got socks. What the heck? It's Comic-Con, it'll be a blast. While I don't have a table, I am sure that Rafael Navarro will let me lurk around a bit in his booth, and we'll be talking up horror, not hate. And I host two panels on Friday: IPI Comics, which is Australian comic creators collaborating with the world, at 4 p.m. in the Marriott Marquis, rooms 10 and 11. Then Devils and Dreamscapes at 5 p.m. in the Convention Center, room 9. Okay, that's a panel talking about horror comics and the relationship to society that they're being published in. And for the first time publicly, I will get to acknowledge two upcoming books that I have work in. I'm pretty jazzed. I'm Derek McCaw. I'm not going all Hollywood on you because I'm a writer. And this is Fanboy Planet. Hey, Planeteers, welcome back to the weekly stack. As mentioned up top, 5 days before Comic Con. Will I sleep before then? I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, for those who are new to this, each week I go to House of Secrets in Burbank, California, and I pick up the comics that I have pre-ordered through catalogs, etc., and then look on the shelves to see if there's any other book that I missed, which often happens, sometimes because suddenly the chatter online about how good a book is crops up after it's too late for me to order. Then I go through my stack and I read some, and then I add others to a stack of books I got to catch up on. But I'll get there, I swear to God. Anyway, so I'm going to talk about those things. But before I do, I did mention also Horror Not Hate. You can still find that online and get the PDF. And I do have two other books I get to talk about next week. So the next time I do one of these, I'll get to talk about it. If you like these conversations about comics, which is also part of what Devils and Dreamscapes will be, please like and subscribe to this video. And if there's anything I talk about that you disagree, or you do strongly agree, whichever, or if I missed something that you really like, please leave a comment. Thank you. Anyway, let's move on, because this is an eclectic week, I think. There were some superhero books, and I apologize that I did buy some Marvel comics but didn't read them yet. I will. I love Marvel. I do, which, by the way, they're moving to the West Coast. First up, it's from Bad Idea Comics, and it's Banana Number One. Number one, because the title of the book really is Banana Number One. And it is, I'm putting on the glasses so I make sure I don't miss any credit, because there's a lot of people that go into a Bad Idea book, because there's also backup stories, which is cool. Josh Dysart is the writer. Kevin McGuire is on art. I mean, you take one look at the splash page, and yeah, you get it. It totally is. Rico Renzi is the colorist, color art. Dave Sharp is the letterer, and David Lapham did the title designs. Then there's a backup story called When I Was Five that Mark Waid and David Lapham wrote together, and David Lapham did the art and the lettering, and David Lapham and Chris Schweitzer also work on that. And that backup story is really cool. I'm just going to leave that one alone for now, because I think I have to explain Banana Number One. So I got the cover by Mike Allred, Mike and Laura Allred, and that had caught my eye in the catalog, but also it was Joshua Dysart. So it's rare that Josh gets to be kind of this funny, while still, I started reading it going like, oh no, he's just being loony. But the more I thought about this, this book stuck to me, which is usually what happens with Josh's work, and it is how do I explain this? Anthropomorphic sentient fruits come out of a mutated jungle, and there is war on humanity. And I realized it's kind of, commentary on a phrase that is coming back to the fore a lot, which is the concept of the banana republic. You know, the idea that corporations were taking over and corporatizing the governments, and a lot of bad things. I'm not going to go into that history here. Perhaps YouTube will send you there if you want to really look at. And I'm not talking about the clothing company, but instead there's this giant banana with a human face and arms and legs, and he's putting together a revolutionary army. So the splash page is with banana number 2, who is a human in a banana suit, not to be confused with banana number 1, who is a banana who looks vaguely like a human. And there are other fruits because there's kiwis involved. I don't know. I'm so looking forward to where this book goes, because I'm not sure. But as I usually say, I think the only time I've read a Josh Dysart book that did not have some kind of commentary or drove me to reading some other stuff, getting some background, was way back when he did a miniseries for DC of The Demon, and it was kind of like Fast and the Furious with Etrigan. And I don't really feel like there was much commentary there other than a really good story, which, did what DC wanted to do with that. But ordinarily, I mean, this is going back way back to a book that you probably can't find. But if you can, this is great, from Penny Farthing Press. I don't even know what happened to those guys. But there was a book called Captain Gravity and the Power of the Vril. And it was sort of a Rocketeer riff, sort of, but it also had a lot of commentary on racial tension and expectations, and honestly, how poorly, even in the 20th century, where a lot of people like to pretend there wasn't racism built in, there was racism built in. So that was cool. Anyway, so banana number 1, and sorry, I'm going to adjust my earbud here. So I'm going back to an Absolute book from DC. I mentioned them just a moment ago. Absolute Green Arrow, number 3. And once again, reading glasses to make sure I get everybody. Porncheck, Pichote, Raphael Albuquerque, and I just want to make sure that I catch the colorist, and that is Marcelo Maiolo, and Jeff Powell is on letters. And I hope that at some point I get to actually sit down with somebody, probably Scott Snyder, any writer in the Absolute universe, and ask like how they actually divide up like new versions or the Absolute versions of characters. Like, does someone come and say, I have a great idea for Absolute, I don't know, Captain Cold? There, I can say that because I think Captain Cold is an Absolute Flash. I know he is. So this introduces a classic villain that I don't necessarily associate with Green Arrow, but the 3 issues have been leading up to this. The clues have been dropped, but they wouldn't add up to that. It's still really cool. I highly recommend the Absolute Green Arrow if you are not reading it. I think I just read, though, it was intended as a 6-issue series, and that's extended to 12. I don't know how it's going to hold attention past this first arc of like, who is the Absolute Green Arrow, who is killing billionaires. And again, Absolute Dinah Lance, aka not yet Absolute Black Canary, is puzzled to discover that some people think it's not a bad idea. So, once again, the Absolute universe is much closer to ours in a very uncomfortable way. So there we go. Another issue 3, and it is from Image Comics. It is Of the Earth, which I have mentioned before. Great horror book coming from Image. The story is by Chris Condon, written by Chris Condon and Andrew Eric. The art is by Charlie Adlard, and the colors are by Pip Martin, and letters are by Hassan Osmani Elhau. And once again, this book finally gets around. This issue finally shows what the antagonist is, the cryptid that they created, sort of. That's what's amazing about this cryptid. I mean, it's just so clever, and the characterization is so sharp. And yes, there is still like back matter explaining a little bit of backstory, but not really. And so, but it's cool because apparently in this world, someone did a hoax, and it's funny because apropos of nothing, I've been seeing Bigfoot chatter up on threads, and so I'm like, oh, we're talking about that famous footage, and so they've got their own version for this book, and so I jump on board while you can, because I'm not hearing a lot or seeing a lot of talk about this book, and it's fantastic, as it almost always is when it comes from uh Chris Condon. I've enjoyed everything that they've done so far. So I'm going to the wrap up of a book from IDW Dark. So a horror book. I know it feels like I read a lot of horror. I do. I write a lot of horror. So that's the way it goes. Hannah Rose May's Smile for the Camera, issue number 5. So it wraps up her series. Let me put on my glasses to make sure that everybody gets credited here. Hannah Rose May, as I mentioned, who will be at Comic Con. Miriana Puglia is the artist. I don't know if she'll be there. Color is Derbia Kelly, and letter is Brian Kolek. Editor is Heather Antos, which I call out because Heather Antos is a fantastic editor and finder of talented people. Like, I don't know exactly how truly the licensing goes, like how IDW decided that, oh, Smile might be a good franchise for comics. But absolutely, Smile for the Camera is a fantastic continuation of the franchise and prequel, and then there will be another before that comes by other people. But Hannah Rose May is someone who uh, used this as an opportunity to rightfully express some anger and rage, and you know this is a franchise that was in danger of being like, well, where it's going to go, like a lot of horror movies, right? I mean, where Friday the 13th movie is going to go. Smile, in two episodes, 2 installments, definitely goes in the same fate. This throws a curve to it, and so I am really, really happy with the way this series worked out. And if you can find all 5 issues on the stands, do it. But otherwise, get the trade paperback. You won't be sorry if you're a horror fan. I'm going to go into, see, it's not all monsters. I guess it sort of is. So The Savage Sword of Conan, number 15 from Heroic Signatures and Titan Comics. Heroic Signatures, by the way, would be the corporation company that owns the rights to the Robert E. Howard characters, that controls their image in the media, etc. And they just been doing a bang up job. I think I read something where it made me think that maybe they've been kind of hands off when they had like the Dark Horse Conan books and the Marvel books, and with Titan, it is absolutely Heroic Signatures is for I guess the first time had put together these packages, and they go to Titan, and Titan goes okay, rightfully okay, and so and in fact, I think there's going to be some news out of Comic Con that will show just how impressive Heroic Signatures work has been to other IP rights holders. Stay tuned. Anyway, so this is why I wanted to bring it up, was because this has a story called The Exchange. Now, I think in Savage Sword of Conan, for the most part, they are kind of standalone stories, but this is a great little epic with it's by Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Connor, and art by Andy Belanger, who I met years ago at WonderCon, probably too many years ago, to when he was part of the launch of Kill Shakespeare. And of course, his art has only gotten better over the years, and so this is a great black and white story, and it's lush with the shading and depth, and it's great. There's a poem by Robert E. Howard himself with a fan, as they say, fan favorite artist. Let me put those glasses back on. I was too cocky. Juan Alberto Hernandez. And then there's a character, because I admit I don't know a lot of Robert E. Howard beyond Conan, King Kull, and Solomon Kane. Red Sonja actually isn't. There is a character that looks a lot like Red Sonja, but that was created by Roy Thomas for Marvel. And please, I know that there's some, mist and fog around that, so I'm not It's trying to stir up controversy. That's just when I was a kid. That's how it appeared. Anyway, there's a character here that I did not know existed who is just ridiculous. Like, I know that Robert E. Howard had a sense of humor that people don't necessarily associate with him, because you see Conan, and there are things in the Conan stories that are just like, well, that's really funny. I mean, like, that's purposely really funny. So here's Breckenridge Elkins, the Two-Ton Terror, which is by Tom DeFalco and Ron Friends, with inks by Patrick Olive. And so it feels like it's like a goofy 70s Marvel story. And uh Breckenridge Elkins is kind of like, almost, there's got to be a better way for saying this, but it's a hillbilly character. It was like a precursor, if you will, to Little Abner. And so I didn't know about this at all. And that's another reason that I love what Heroic Signatures is doing. I'm discovering so much more about the Robert E. Howard catalog. I got to be honest, I don't know that I'm going to go and read all of it, but thanks to Heroic Signatures, I have bought a collection of El Barak stories, and I'm going to get to those. And I've been buying the Heroic Signatures Titan Solomon Kane stories, and so they've definitely led me in directions that I hadn't gone in a long time since high school. So thank you guys. So the last thing that I'm going to recommend is a hardcover. I don't know if there's a paperback that is collection, that because this is from Oni and it says it's the deluxe edition, and it's High Strangeness from the production company Spectre Vision and Oni Press. Spectre Vision is I'm gonna put the glasses on so I catch all the names right. Is Elijah Wood and Daniel Noah, and I think they have another partner who created for film production. And when I looked this up, I didn't realize how many movies I've enjoyed, like on Shudder or so forth, and just weird corners of my streaming services that the Spectre Vision had produced, with and without Elijah Wood in the movie. So this is written by each chapter by different people, with Daniel Noah, Chris Condon, there he is again, Zach Thompson, Christopher Cantwell, let's not leave him out, Cecil Castellucci, they are great, and Christian Ward, and artists each chapter: Dave Chisholm, Noah Bailey, Valeria Birzo, Chloe Stowski, and Christian Ward. And I ordered this. I did, because I picked up the first issue at House of Secrets, and I hadn't been aware of what it was. And then I didn't see the second issue and the third. And then in the catalog, when the deluxe edition showed up, I was like, I was looking at other shops. I was not finding High Strangeness. So I now have this collection. It's circling around 40 in society. If you go back to Of the Earth, this makes sense. It's of interest to Chris Condon, why he would be involved. But each chapter, each issue was in a different year, and it's telling one big story that doesn't quite, in the first four, it's not as clear as how they all connect. And you pick up little threads here and there, but it involves the so-called Men in Black, the UFO conspiracy things, Bigfoot. I have heard this from time to time, that people consider Bigfoot to be potentially an alien, or an alien race. And so this kind of dances around that, because I think Department of Truth touches on that from Image Comics as well. But there are essays in the back from this. I just found this a really fascinating story. And again, when honestly, I've spent this much money on a deluxe edition, it better be one that I think I have to read again to make sure I'm following all of it. But definitely, some of these talents will be at Comic Con, and I hope I bump into them, because I really enjoyed this book. It was worth the wait for me. And, again, as you probably glean by now from months of watching these videos, I do enjoy reading a book that makes my head hurt from time to time. Metaphorically, I actually do have a headache right now, and I know what that is. And that is not because I was reading something challenging, but this is a challenging work. And for people that think that comics aren't Well, hand him this. I don't know, and it's for fans of the X Files, definitely, which is coming back. I mean, that's kind of weaving back around, isn't it? We are trying to figure out where we are in the universe. And so I don't know if the Fortean Society, or however they refer to themselves, uh, have the right answers or not. I just find it fascinating because, as much as it irritates some of my coworkers in my day job, I tell them, there are more things in heaven and earth than are dreamed of in your philosophy, Horatio. That was a bad line reading, but there you go. Shakespeare wrote it, and I have agreed that there are just things that I can't explain, and I love when people are trying to explain them. So, hi, strangeness. That's it for this week. I mean, I did pick up obviously other books, and the next few days I'm trying to get through some others that, like, I've had the trades for a while. Oh, and people have sent me stuff to read before Comic Con, so I got to read it before Comic Con. But so once again, if you've enjoyed this, thank you, and please like on YouTube, subscribe, and that it goes to Fanboy Planet, the site as well, because you can do that. So and if you've got a comment, if I have if you've watched these and gone, wow, he never mentions this, then tell me, because I can't read everything, but I also can't know that everything that is cool is cool, So tell me what you think is cool. And I think that's where I'm going to end here, because I got a lot to do before Comic Con. But, like, subscribe. And as always, yeah, if I see you at Comic Con, please say hi, or you see me, please say hi, and that'd be awesome. And see the panels, or one or both of those panels. And there are plenty of other panels. And finally, today I've gotten down to looking at, oh, what do I actually want to see? So hopefully I'll get to see them. Anyway, till next time, use your powers for good.